What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, I got a couple things on the old agenda here to kind of bring to you guys' awareness. I think it's a positive thing for your mental diet. I find it positive for mine. And that has to do with just unplugging from a lot of the self-help and just the endless advice and the endless entertainment, the endless media, to try to learn, to get to the bottom of something, and that has to do even with what I'm doing. It's just getting out of listening to the quote unquote experts that got it all figured out, and really getting in on your own life and pursuing the things that make you happy, that bring you joy, that push your limits on some level, that that make you feel alive, and you start to do that by being the change yourself. And so just to kind of put that out there to others, I feel like is important, because I know I can get stuck in these things like, oh, who do I want to hear next? Oh, what advice am I missing? What puzzle piece am I missing? And the reality is, that teacher is within you. And so it's getting more and more obvious to kind of focus in on that, because as you start to do that, as you start to really change that inner narrative within yourself to, constantly just worried and concerned about the what ifs and worst case scenarios, and basically having an inner narrative of the undesirable, starting to flip that more and more so to having that inner conversation of things that you do desire. This is working good, things are going great, what you want to happen, instead of just reacting to what you don't. Realize that you have a choice in that. And a lot of times if we get carried away with just this fear and the undesirable and just constantly just reacting to shit instead of creating, it starts to spin us out. You start to feel a drain of energy. You start to get into a state of more and more seeing separation in your environment and your life circumstances and the events and everything that's in your life. And it can kind of, I don't know, just start to when it happens to me, it gets me angry, it gets me triggered, it gets me wanting the present moment to be different, instead of accepting that this is life, this is it. It's if I had just a little bit more, it would just be the same rat race as I been doing, and so the only thing that starts to make more sense is once you realize that is then to actually pursue the things that you're into, and not just be in your mind about it, dreaming about it, plotting how it's going to work out, just diving into the deep end of the pool type thing. So it's one thing, it's guitar is a good example of that, where it's just if I just learn some more theory land, if I just learn some more technique, if I just learn some better equipment skills, if I just learn better pedals, if I just got this new pedal, then I can sound a way that I can be creative and just let shit flow and whatnot. And it's I know of people that have been in that kind of state for years, literally years, and haven't improved in their performance, mainly because they're stuck in this fucking loop of just well, if I only had, it's time to put the theory land down and actually pick up the instrument and just start playing. And that's the same thing with your life. It's you can only listen to personal development and all these metaphysical things for so long before you actually apply it. And once you do apply it, it's crazy, because it starts to become more and more obvious that as you let go of the control, as you learn to just trust that things are unfolding right now, and now it's unfolding. It's always just a process of unfoldment in the present moment. And so it's the more that you're able to let go of a lot of these habits of just it's probably going to be at the end of the world soon, so there's no reason to do anything fun or exciting. There's no hope for tomorrow that it's going to be any different. You see what's going on with all the authoritarian satanic shit, and it's just oh, they won, just gotta just prepare myself to die. Yeah, and then once that happens, then I could be happy. And then I can be connected with God, even though it's you can be connected with God now and so it's like, okay, you be connected with God now according to the Bible and from your own personal life experience, if you've really went down the walk of faith, and know that to be real. And so it's like, okay, well, thinking that heaven, there's like a transforming power in death, that like all of a sudden now you're in heaven and now things are going to be good because why would they not be why would they not be good now? It's like, isn't it more logical, if what you are seeking after death is be connected with God and God's kind of reality? Doesn't it make sense to realize that God's in the ever-present now and you're already connected, so the promises of God should be, the kingdom of God's at hand type thing? But I feel like it's just like a process of putting it more and more to like practice, trusting more and more so that things are all going to work out. And whenever there's like these scraps of fear that start to come into our consciousness, to start to address those things and see, for one, what's, a lot of times you'll feel the fear, but then right afterwards, then you'll have like the belief that oh, things are going to be recreated exactly the same shit show that it was before, instead of realizing, this is a new opportunity to watch God work in our lives, and so, sickness is a good example of that, where it's like, you see sickness, and, just from looking at, what Jesus did when he was walking the earth, it's just like, oh, there's like all these like impossible diseases and like all this fucking, all this like, shit going on with people's bodies, and like, instead of like, oh, let's react and whatnot and freak out, it was just, allowing, that healing to just happen. It's just like, so it's like you can start to see, how sickness and disease, on some level is part of creation, but that doesn't mean like, it's part of the promises of God. It's more so an example of an illusion that is being projected, and so it's like when you're faced with like the undesirable, the fear, the death, destruction, all these kinds of things that go against what God says that our behavior should be, the fruits of love. When you see stuff that's obviously contrary to that, it's like, what is this? Instead of like reacting to it, getting triggered by it, making you question your faith, all this is all just retarded because, look at this example of the undesirable that's manifested. But once you realize more and more so that, reality, your perception of reality at minimum, is there's all these veils, through your beliefs, through all the mental stories and the distortions in your own being. It's like a big mirror, that's constantly showing you who you believe yourself to be in relationship to God and this particular life situation, and so, instead of like sitting there trying to battle and fight it, start to just let go of like the one, I don't know what to do. There's like the old mind that's recreating the same past over and over again, responding in exactly the same way to any type of thing that closely resembles a situation from the past. It's like, well, I could recreate that, but that didn't really, maybe it did work, maybe it didn't, maybe it could have done it better. Who knows? But like, instead of sitting there trying to fucking battle with it, it's much easier to just hand that over to God and just like trust that you're going to just watch God fight that battle for you. All you have to do is be still and rest in the feeling that is no longer even a problem. The problem is, believing that you got to deal with it. When it's more of an example of like a time to just trust that God's working all of this shit out. It's like you don't got to sit there and worry about it. It's like you don't got to worry about like how people's body's going to heal. Sitting there worrying about it, is if anything, creating more of a fucking shit show in your own being. When you can just as easily, trust that this is an opportunity to sit back and watch how God heals this situation, heals that person, heals, the whole thing. But what becomes like tricky, is, in the kind of the question is like, does this person actually even want to be healed? Does this person want to die? Does this person want that? and like imparting your own will on somebody that's had made a choice. Is that right? Is that wrong? Is that something that you should worry about? Or do you just say, I don't know what to do about it? I feel like that's just as good of a as anything else, and just go, hey, you know what? Let God's will be done on this situation. I'm not going to add an ounce of worry and fear and my own drama to it, and potentially make it worse by just putting that kind of worst case scenario energy on it. I'm going to look at the situation, and I'm going to start looking at my own thoughts about it and see if I'm telling myself the undesirable when faced with this, or can I start to change that to more of the desirable? Many times, we get confronted with these situations over and over again. And a lot of times we have the same inner conversations about it, with ourselves, and with that, this same kind of maybe undesirable outcome. It's like, oh, we got bad news from so and so, and then they elaborate on it. Then next thing you know, then you're in your mind, trying to react to it. What are you going to do in the face of this? I'm going to react, and I'm going to respond out of fear, and I'm going to strengthen the problem by believing that it's a real problem. Where you can, start to go, oh, wait a minute, that was like how the old mind would react to this problem. I'm going to choose to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit instead, which is the voice of peace. Where it's like fear, you're just tense and just feeling separate from the situation, feeling separate from your own, possible involvement in it, and instead of recreating the past that ultimately didn't, there's one thing to sacrifice and grind constantly and feel like just pushing a mountain or pushing a boulder up a hill. It's like, yeah, maybe you can do it for a while, but eventually it starts to become an issue, where it's like maybe a new way to look at it is more appropriate. And by more appropriate, I mean just, for one, kind of reflects more of the actual truth. And, that's something that's between you and God ultimately. It gets to a point where it's like, you almost, even in doing these, I sometimes start to think, it's like, what purpose is this serving? It's like, for one, it just, I don't know. It just seems like everything is something that someone's got to try for themselves to see. It's like, until you do that, I mean, you're just kind of just treading water. It's like you're not going to learn how to play the guitar by continuously watching instructional videos and not actually putting it to the test. And so, and I get in that same thing too, and it's easy to fall back into the old kind of states, the old patterns, and drift into it. And then next thing you know, being in fear and reacting to shit that's probably just fucking drama from media that's not even reflective of reality. It's like, where I live, it's such a different scenario than what you see through the screens. It's been relatively back to normal. And even if people are facing illnesses and whatever, it's like the general population is like, unless you go to a store where they're like, it's like, oh, the employees have to wear masks and shit. Most of the people walking around the stores are not. I mean, it just gets to a point where it's just like, how much am I going to let my state of being be influenced by these external, either people, stories, these particular shit I'm seeing through screens, or am I just going to choose just to enjoy my life and not worry about what other people are doing or saying or freaking out about? It's like, it even gets to a point where it's like, does it even matter, to show people an example of shit working? Because it's like, until they try it for themselves, it just becomes, I don't know, kind of frustrating, and it's like, well, is that a sign then, if it's so frustrating, to adjust? And that's kind of just where I'm getting to, just feel like repeating the same shit over and over again with just this COVID narratives, and not only that, but even just, because I don't watch a lot of that, but I listen to a lot of people that maybe are applying like metaphysical types of faith and shit like that. but even so, it's like, and until how many times are you gonna hear the same message repeat? I feel like I repeat the same shit over and over and over and over, and I have feel like I've been doing that for years. And eventually it gets to a point. It's like, you know, is this even helping in the situation, or is this creating more problems than it's even doing? Because like there's been so many times where it's just like, especially just being in and out of the truth community and whatever, yeah, where it's just like you start to see how whenever anything's going on, then the immediate response is like, oh, there's got to be some sinister whatever worst case scenario, and it's like how much of my life am I going to spend fucking caring about that kind of shit? It's just like, that's kind of where I get to, where it's just like, I'm so tired of just the dramas and just, and even like even listening to like a law of attraction, law of assumption, these and that, and it's like, and until it's like, what is this imaginary future that is so whatever's, it's like, I had this thing where my family went out basically over the weekend. It's like, oh, that gives me an opportunity, I can just watch whatever, do whatever, and then when it finally happened, it's like the whole time I just was in such strange energy that I didn't even do anything. It's like I felt like I snapped into a totally different state, and it was just like, just felt a lot of anxiety for some reason. It was just like I don't know. It was so surreal, and like yeah, and then that's what I kind of get to, where it's just like, at what point do you just go, I don't care if people acknowledge this or agree with it, participate along with it, whatever. And it's like, I know this is like, I know this to be real. And so it's like, at what point do you just like, I'm just going to unplug from this. I'm just going to live my own life, fucking do whatever. And yeah, just kind of experience that for a while. And I think part of it, is like possibly because like just like doing music and stuff, it's like you have this. I have this idea where it's like, oh, well, this is how people did it in the past, and so it's like, yeah, kind of somewhat evolve it and kind of like put a change to it. But it could happen totally differently. I could just, just as easily, just do publishing things and kind of just be wherever, and yeah, and but it almost feels like I don't know if we want to say a calling. That's probably not it. But it's just it just feels like helpful on some level, because like there was a time where it's like really helpful for me, especially just like in my whole waking up experience, where it just felt like getting thrown into like the deep end of the pool, and it's just like, holy shit, what is going on? And for those that are just waking up to things, if you have to go through the same shit I went through, and if it plays out collectively in that way, get ready to buckle up, because the shit gets very fucking crazy. It basically is just living through all of the fears of everything manifesting around. It was like, for me, it felt like a satanic Truman Show, which then, where it doesn't feel like that anymore, because now it just feels like, everything is just, there's just like this connectedness, with God, where it's just like, oh, I was just experiencing my fears, because, I thought everything was separate, and like feeling alone, and like a brain and a body, all that kind of stuff, not feeling like there's like a bigger picture. And, and then plus, you see all the unconscious behavior of like people that are just like under the spell. I think some people call it like mass formation now, which, however you want to label this thing, biblically it'd be like the Antichrist spirit, and just like the way I would, interpret that. It's like those two being very similar, and how it just gets in people's fucking minds and whatnot. But like, yeah, I think I'm going to, probably bounce. So, it's like I've been really tired today, for some reason, kind of like in a kind of a weird mood. I think part of it, I was like doing this job, it's like, well, like I've been on this like binge of like free solo mountain climbing. not that I would do that personally, but watching people that are doing that, it's just such fucking crazy energy. And it's like, it just got me in this mood of just like, I just want to focus on people that are just doing shit that's awesome, that's like fucking awesome energy. And like, is like, out of this theory land of, oh, you need to follow these steps. And it's just like, who's actually doing shit around here that's like fucking awesome, and that's what I want to focus my attention more on, people that are just doing it, doing things like that. It was like, for those that aren't aware of what free solo mountain climbing, and I just became aware of it, I'll just sit here like an expert, but it's basically just like climbing these fucking like steep faces like that, hundreds, thousands feet in the air, these cliffs without a fucking rope or anything, and I was like, as somebody who used like to skateboard, it's like a lot, part of like I almost want to say it like an illusion, where it's like you always see like the captured like landing it, sticking it, but that from my experience of it, it's like you could have like 10 fucking attempts where you fell like hard, and like got back up, did it again, got back up, did it again, and then finally just sticking it, going for it, letting go of the fear, which is so many times the thing that's keeping you from committing to like landing the trick, is just the fear, and just kicking the board away and just not trying to do it. And then it's like, man, I'm just fucking hurting myself by not committing to it. If I just land it, it's gonna feel great, as opposed to kicking the board away or like landing weird on the board. And if like, the board, like, you do it, they used to call it like getting credit carded, where like the board would go like straight up and you'd like rack your nuts on it. And like, that's very fucking intense when that happens, especially when you're doing, stairs, and it's like a big way down. That shit can just, it's intense. But like, and so, but that was like part of the entire experience for me. And so it's like watching like these rock climbers, my first like thought is like, man, I wonder how much shit they eat, to be able to get to that level where they're climbing this shit. I mean, you gotta, it's like, have they never fell? It's like they gotta, fucking. And so I was like, just like watching, people eating shit, fucking mountain climbing, and it's just like, oh my gosh, these people are fucking nuts. It's like falling, even with ropes and shit, it's like, it doesn't take very much before, I mean, you're in a big problem, so you're landing on these jagged rocks and whatnot, and even with ropes, that shit looks dangerous as all get out, but like, yeah, but I've just been really obsessed with that, the past couple days, just watching and like, encouraging others to watch that kind of stuff, because it really gets your mind, because you're able to really kind of just get in that same, especially with their really good drone footage, it's HD and whatnot, and you're up there that high with them. Oh, so crazy. But it's like, man, I need like more of that kind of stuff. And like, I was on a roof earlier today, I had I did 3 jobs today, and like, all of them were just kind of a pain in the, it's like, one, I had to get up on a roof, and so even getting up on a roof, today, it's like windy, and I was like, rainy, windy, and like, they're saying like, I don't know, probably fairly soon, it's like 40-50 mile an hour wind or something like that. And so there's like, okay, well, I got to get it on top of this roof and kind of figure out where this leak's coming from and whatnot. And so, getting on top of the roof, and then I had to get underneath of a house to look at some leaky drain pipe or something, and it was just like another thing. This crawl space was like, I don't, not very big, and like crawling on your hand, you're on your, like sprawled out, underneath houses and stuff. And then I had to get on like a ladder, fix an exhaust pipe that blew off in the wind the other day. And it's just like, yeah, it's just been a series of events. And plus like, you get like some drama and shit going on. So it's like, I was like on YouTube, and it's just like, man, I'm so tired. I feel like I'm in the same, just hearing the same shit over and over from people, and it almost just gets to a point where it's just like, you want to contribute, you want to help others, because ultimately we're connected, so it helps, it ultimately helps you. So it's like it starts to become like, well, am I just being selfish? Because it's like as I share, I'm kind of just doing it so I can get some more information. Because as you teach, you start to learn. Too. It's weird. And it's like the same thing with like an instrument, playing guitar or whatever. It's like the more you like play for others, the better you get. It's just kind of how things are. But like I think I'm gonna bounce. I'm really tired and like yeah, I got play guitar at church, like practice here in a couple hours, and just maybe I want to take a nap or something. We'll find out. We'll see. But like I think I'm going to bounce. So thanks everybody for listening, liking, sharing, subscribing, all the social networking things. I appreciate your spiritual support and your financial support. Thank you for that. If you need some music, if you're making truth videos, feel free to hit up my SoundCloud. Yeah, if you can download it for free, you can use the music in your videos, and they shouldn't give you a copyright strike or anything. But if you're doing like something with a budget, it's like oh yeah, you got a $20,000 music budget. Let me just snag a freebie from Mike. It's like pay for a license if you got the scratch. But like yeah, other than that, I think I'm gonna bounce. So thanks everybody for listening, and have a good rest of your now, and God bless.